Alex de Minaur continued to fly the Australian flag on day 7 of competition, and his match is the first of our spotlight focuses for today. I've got with me Simon Ray from Gig. Hello, Simon.
Hey, John. Good to be back.
And also Candy Reid. How was your day 7?
My day 7 has been unbelievable. How many good matches have we had with exciting conclusions, terrific tiebreakers, all kinds of drama going on around the grounds.
And it's been a cracking one for the local contingent. De Minaur, the sole Australian left in the singles draws, and today he took care of Francisco Cerundolo, although Simon, not without a little bit of a test. 5-7, 7-6, 3-6, 3-6 in the end, and it was a dogged performance from the Aussie.
Yeah, well, dogged's right. 3 hours and 53 minutes worth of dogged, a really dour, tough struggle out there on Rod Laver Arena. And I think there's a lot of upside for the Demon in coming through today, with one caveat, which I'll get to a little bit later on. His serving numbers were off. You know, both players didn't serve a particularly high number from a first serve percentage perspective. Demon landed just 49%, and Cerundolo's at 52% of first serves in play. But it's on the second serve return where Demon's able to differentiate this match. So second serve return points won. Cerundolo wins 36% of his second serve return points. Demon wins 49%. And it's becoming a bit of a trend for Alex on second serve return. He's going about it in a little bit of a different way than what we've seen previously. So we know how aggressive he can be on second serve return, and often 1 metre, 2 metres inside baseline. But he's weaving in and mixing in the one where he's 3 and 4 metres beyond baseline. So it's a little bit of both. And I like the light and shade that he's starting to introduce from a return perspective. It's a strength of the game, and he's just adding another string to his bow there. And he was able to put a gap in the match through the pressure that he was able to put on the Cerundolo second serve. Not always coming at him inside the baseline. A lot of the time coming up at him, but not always. So going about it in a slightly different way than what we've maybe seen in previous years. I like it.
And Candy, the legs were back.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually saw Sue Bolter in the cafe after the match. Now, Sue Bolter is, of course, the mum of Katie Bolter, and Katie Bolter, the fiancée of Alex de Minaur. And I was asking Sue about the leg thing, and she said, yes, it was weird, wasn't it, in the first set? Alex de Minaur didn't look like himself. He was frustrated. Yeah. We don't often see that. He's got a great poker face, but he looked like he was whacking his strings. He was complaining to his bench. Yep. I don't think I've ever seen him that animated in my life. And maybe he was starting to panic just slightly, being the last Australian in the singles draw. There's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and his draw has been relatively easy, and it's opening up. So I think a few more people are starting to say, well, Alex de Minaur could get to the quarterfinals, and that heaps more pressure. Now, we know Alex is a very calm individual. He's quite insular. He seems to take things really well. However, you know, when you've got that much anticipation and build-up around you as the last person standing, that's going to hurt. And I think it was very interesting. After he won that second set, I actually said on AO radio commentary, I think he's going to be all right now. That second set breaker was crucial. If Francisco Cerundolo had won it, and I thought Cerundolo was playing unbelievably well, in matches that I've commentated on him before, he's gone off a lot. Cerundolo is very talented, but I thought he was playing 9 out of 10. Yeah. Alex de Minaur was playing 6 out of 10. And Alex de Minaur, despite being the second best player on the court, managed to level it up at a set all. And then I thought after that, de Minaur was home and dry, because we know about his unbelievable legs. He had the momentum. And Sue Bolter said, yeah, it looked like the real Alex de Minaur just appeared in sets 3 and 4. So she's looking at her future son-in-law with very microscopic eyes. She absolutely loves him, by the way. She says, I couldn't really have a better son-in-law. He's going to take care of Katie. And that's very important, because I am a mother too.
Good results all around then. So more numbers then from the Demon today.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to touch on the physical profile, because these numbers, from the perspective of the two players and the two-player comparison, they are off the charts. You just don't see separation like this. And Candy's touched on it already. I think it can be a blessing and a curse for Demon. So clearly the legs being back, absolute blessing. But the fact that Cerundolo was able to dictate so much of the proceedings through the opening couple of sets, and Candy's right, it all hinged on the second set tiebreak. And Alex was able to do enough to turn the tables. And I think it's not doom and gloom in terms of, I think he can take a lot of confidence, a lot of belief, because we know his legs and his physicality and his movement and his explosiveness. It's so important to him. But have a listen to these numbers in terms of the difference in the profile. So from a sprint perspective, we've got a measurement here in our dashboard, sprint. Cerundolo sprinted 12 times in this match. That's about half as much as we would have expected him to sprint. Okay? Normally we see him sprint 25 times. 12 for Cerundolo. Demon, 56.
Wow. Yeah, it's like 5 times.
56 sprints to 12. Distance, Demon's covered an extra 600 metres, so he's up around 4,000 metres. Cerundolo's at 3,400. And distance run at high speed, so how much of that distance is at high speed? Demon's at 9%, Cerundolo's down at 3%. So he can take belief out of that. He can take faith in the fact that his physicality is back. But by the same token, he won't want to be wholly and solely relying on that physical profile to go 5 sets for the next, what he hopes is 4 and 5 rounds to claim the crown. So a blessing and a curse, I guess.
Well, it's Alex Michelsen next in the round of 16 and potentially a quarterfinal with the defending champion Jannik Sinner to come.
Ouch.
Candy. Our other match focus for today was a little bit more one-sided. Iga Swiatek sweeping aside Emma Raducanu for the loss of only one game. 6-1, 6-love. She goes through to the fourth round.
She was great. A couple of days ago I was on your podcast and it was Iga versus Rebecca Šramkova of Slovakia, and I said I thought that Šramkova was going to give Iga a tough time. She didn't. She got 2 games, and Raducanu got 1 fewer after holding. She lost 11 straight, and I think that says a lot about Iga Swiatek. We were just discussing this at AO Radio, the fact that now Iga has become the world number 2. She's no longer the person to beat. She looks like she's just relaxed, and she said as much in her post-match press conference that last year she was worried, she was a little bit up on edge. You could see fear in her eyes and panic coming in. And she didn't have her best year despite, of course, winning Roland Garros once again. But people have started to find a solution to the Iga Swiatek problem, which they weren't in 2023. This year, she looks like she's calm, she's relaxed, she's playing her best tennis, she's moving. She moves, in my opinion, better than any other female, maybe with the exception of Coco Gauff.
Yes.
Those two really dominate that part of the game. She looks much freer. Raducanu just about scraped through her first 2 matches. It was very close against Katerina Alexandrova and Amanda Anisimova. I didn't feel like Emma Raducanu was playing anywhere near her best, but she was getting through it very, very well. But Iga Swiatek just showed why she is one of the world's best. There was a big class difference today.
So what's Swiatek doing really well this tournament, Simon?
Well, there's 2 things I wanted to touch on, and one of them revolves around the numbers, and then I would just want to stop the numbers and talk a little bit to the mentality. So I'll touch on the numbers first of all. Let's go there first. The trouble starts from Raducanu perspective. First serve and play, 58%. Okay? Second serve 23%. And what does Iga do? She really goes to work. A lot of the time, it's not necessarily cold return winners. It's returning deep middle and taking control of the point thereafter. And rocking Raducanu with her physicality, which Candy's touched on. So her court coverage, you feel like you can't get through her. And then the heaviness of her forehand today was off the charts, even by her lofty standards. So 2,600 revs on the ball. The tour average in the women's game is about 2,100. That's high, even by Iga's standards. Okay?
Serious spin.
So that ball off the forehand side is jumping, rearing, leaping at you. It's got an edge to it that we haven't seen from her down here in Australia in previous years. And then there's a mentality. So now I'm just going to stop the numbers, close the book, right? Because I thought this was a more emotive, more expressive, more ruthless Iga Swiatek on the court. And that's sometimes what we haven't seen. We've almost felt like we've seen that robotic monotone from her where she's not giving a lot away. But nor is she being absolutely kind of outward and external with her expressions of emotion. And I thought we saw the fire today. I thought we saw the glint in the eye looking down the other end at the opponent and almost moving in for the kill. I thought we saw the ruthlessness, and I love the externalization, if that's a word, of that emotion. And I think it sends a signal that she's going about it slightly differently, and I just loved what I saw.
I think she had almost a point to prove because, of course, there's so many eyes on Emma Raducanu. She's absolutely beloved in Great Britain, and I think she is around the rest of the world, in China and Romania. Of course, she's got roots. She was born in Toronto. When she breaks a fingernail, it's reported in Great Britain. There's so much attention. So when you play Emma Raducanu, I think a lot of players really want to beat her. I also questioned the Iga Swiatek Wim Fissette relationship after Iga fired Thomas Witorowski. I wasn't sure if it was the right combination, and I'm apologising for that because I think actually
you've come around.
I've come around.
Takes a humble woman.
Well, I mean, I admit when I'm wrong, and I'm wrong very, very often. Unfortunately, my husband reminds me daily. But
you've gone early with that, though. You've seen enough, have you? You've seen enough.
Yeah, I think so. I think impressed by the forehand. I think they've worked very aggressively. They've changed a little bit on the serve, and he's brought a more relaxed, calm demeanour to Iga Swiatek. So watch out for her.
Yeah.
Before
we turn our attention to day 8, I just wanted to touch on Gauff Monfils' magnificent win in 4 sets over Taylor Fritz. Fritz was a tournament fancy for many, myself included, before the event, but he goes in the 3rd round.
He was second best, wasn't he? Gael Monfils, I was a bit worried about him in the fourth set of his match against Giovanni Pericard in the first round. I thought he did superbly. He keeps leaning over and looked like he's done, and he's not done. He's 38 years of age, and he was moving around the court like a gazelle.
Andy. He's foxing.
And he was talking about afterwards, how he's slow balling Fritz, who's a little bit, for my mind, one-dimensional. I don't know if Simon would agree. Doesn't really like to volley, even though Michael Russell and Paul Annacone have been urging him to go forward. He doesn't really like to slice. He likes to play that game right in the pocket where he's hitting the balls. And Gael Monfils didn't allow it. He soft-balled him, gave him no pace, and then suddenly, when he had a minute, he flicked the ball hard down the line. And he was having so much fun. The dance at the end, I mean, that's got to be the moment of the Australian Open 2025. That was such a sensational... He looked like he'd won an Emmy, a Golden Globe. He just conquered the world. And it's so fun to see Gael Monfils in full flow.
The painter of so many beautiful pictures in this sport paints a masterpiece today. Hang it in the Louvre.
Genius performance from the Frenchman.
Yeah, I don't think any of us really saw this coming. We've kind of seen him on and off the tour in recent years, and still dangerous and damaging when he wants to be, but we've not seen him consistently week in, week out. So these two last played at the Australian Open in 2019, 6 years ago. Monfils as a 38-year-old, I don't know if any of us thought that this run was in him. And Candy's right, it's one of the absolute headline items at the Australian Open for 2025 right now. And who's to say it stops here? So really exciting to see where the run goes next.
And just quickly, Michael Russell, the coach of Taylor Fritz, was laughing because he said when Michael was playing that he'd played Gael Monfils 3 times in his career.
He's
and
still
now
going.
his protege's playing him and they can't beat him.
Yeah,
What's wrong?
It's insane. As we round the bend into the second week of competition, there are some tantalising matchups for us on day 8, the commencement of the 4th round. Jack Draper and Carlos Alcaraz first up. Well, Draper has been put through the ringer. I think spent the most amount of hours on court so far at over 12 hours. And now has this tough ask of the world number 3 in the 4th round.
Well, firstly, I apologise because he's taken out 2 Australians, hasn't he? The Brit in 5 sets. He's played 15 sets in 3 matches. How gutsy is Jack Draper, who had a terrible off-season? He was playing well and then he hurt his hip. He was supposed to be training with João Fonseca at the National Tennis Centre in London right before Christmas. I know because I was there and he couldn't play. So Fonseca was playing with the likes of Charlie Broome and others just to get some matches in because otherwise it would have been a wasted trip from Brazil. So not ideal for James Trotman and Jack Draper, but I've just been so impressed by his ability to grind things out. I do wish, and I've had this same conversation with James Trotman, who was a year behind me when we were playing in Great Britain, that Jack would be a little bit more aggressive. He does tend to move back in the court and counterpunch and run, but boy, is he fit. His trainers have done a remarkable job with Jack Draper. I just think perhaps he's going to run out of steam against Alcaraz, who was just at his magic best a couple of days ago. He was throwing in this sensational forehand drop shot. Sometimes he slightly overdoes it, Carlos, but we're all here for it, aren't we? We just love him.
I think Draper does pay a price physically. I hope I'm wrong. But and I tipped my cap to Jack last night as well. I thought it was a remarkable competitive and physical display from him and his team. And Trots and the physio, they'll be would have been working overtime since last night to prepare for tomorrow. But I've got to feel like it's too big an ask. 5 sets into 5 sets into 5 sets into play Alcaraz smells like trouble to me. But I hope I'm wrong.
So Alcaraz doesn't need to diverge from Plan A on this one.
I don't think so. In fact, I think it'll have to. I've got to think it's Trots and Team Draper that come up with a different plan of attack, which is I think that aggression that Candy's calling for there, you have to see that, and you have to see it from ball 1. The points have got to be shortened. Jack's got no choice because I don't think he's got 5 sets in him. So, and in fact, I don't think he's got extended rally after extended rally after extended rally in him. So he's going to have to come up with a different plan of attack, a different way through, and I wish him luck because Alcaraz, he can do it all.
So exciting to watch. I'm absolutely fascinated. I actually thought that Jack Draper would have lost steam after his second 5-set match. The fact that he's just been Vukic, I think it was 6-5 in the 5th when I went to sleep and I thought, oh, Vukic is probably going to take that. And he didn't. When I woke up this morning, Jack Draper again
it was gutsy.
had won.
It was gutsy.
Yeah, it's just an incredible performance. He's somebody who's been coached by Justin Sherring as a youngster. Justin Sherring was the man behind Joe Salisbury and a host of other British juniors. Justin Sherry, for my mind, is one of the best coaches in Great Britain. And Jack Draper is just showing a lot of fight and belief. But I would love to see the all-aggressive match against Alcaraz, but I just suspect that his default, Draper's, is still moving back behind the line, and I don't think he can play that way.
All right, our other day 8 match for focus is Coco Gauff against Belinda Bencic, who on the opposite side of the coin should be a little bit more fresh, having passed through her match against Naomi Osaka, who was forced to retire after just a set. And suddenly Bencic is back in the second week of a Grand Slam in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Another one that's got British roots. Just bring that in because Bencic's coach is Ian Hughes, who used to be my coach growing up. And Ian Hughes is in his second stint with Belinda Bencic. He's also worked with the likes of Aryna Sabalenka, Katerina Siniakova. He got Magda Linette to a semi-final here a few years ago. So he is a phenomenal coach. And they've got back together, of course. Baby Bella is travelling with Belinda. Her mum is here to look after Bella. Her boyfriend and partner and the father of a child, Martin, is her strength and conditioning. She just seemed really settled. And I think having a child has actually put a sense of perspective into Belinda Bencic. She was coached by Melanie Molitor as a youngster. Melanie Molitor is the mother of Martina Hingis. So she's been well grounded. She has this unique style where she walks through shots. For my mind, she has the best drive volley in the whole world of tennis.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. She never misses it. I promise you. Just watch it. She'll probably miss everything.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll put Simon on that tomorrow. Yep.
I'm so interested in this matchup. I'm not sure who's going to win. Obviously, Coco Gauff on paper is the favourite. Bencic has hardly just really come back to tennis after giving birth. But she looks fit as a fiddle. She's had some great results. She's taken out some big names already. I mean, who's to stop her going one further? I don't know if Coco Gauff maybe errs a little bit on that forehand, which she did slightly against Leilani Fernandez before shoring it up. Maybe Bencic can use her smarts and get through it.
Well, I think the data's saying to me when I look at it that the fairy tale run of Bencic probably comes to an end tomorrow. But I think again, I'm with Candy. I tip my cap. What a resurgence! What an effort! From a relatively fresh new mum to return to these heights that quickly, it's phenomenal.
Yep.
What these women are doing in the women's game. I spoke about it earlier. I'm in awe. I'm in admiration and full of admiration for what we're seeing. But I think the fairy tale return maybe shudders to a quick halt tomorrow because I think Coco's profiling like someone that's going to be here at the very business end of the event. Physicality, she can do it on both sides of the coin. So she can defend. We know she's got elite movement, elite defensive skills, very hard to get through, but then she can hurt you as well with her weapons on serve from the back of the court. Probably goes about it slightly differently off the forehand wing. It's more spin than speed necessarily, but backhand side can punish you as well. And always adding strings to the bow, Coco Gauff. She's still a work in progress. She's still improving. Yep. So she's my overwhelming tip for that matchup tomorrow.
Is the weight of expectation on Coco, knowing that potentially she's going to have Sabalenka again in 2 matches' time, starting to get in the back of the mind? Can that be exploited from the other side of the net?
No, I don't think so. I think she's a little bit like Alex Michelsen. Having lived in the United States for 22 years, you can see the competitive spirit of North American players is alive and well. Alex Michelsen is a great points and learner Tien, and those guys, they just they love to compete. They love to do it. And Coco Gauff is very similar to that. She comes from a very sporting family. Her 2 younger brothers play excellent sport. Her mum was track and field and gymnast. Her dad, I believe, played basketball to a high level. There's no worries about that. She's not looking ahead anyway. She's far too sensible for that. She's already got the major title, hasn't she, at the US Open in singles. She's also got a major title in doubles with Katerina Siniakova at last year's Roland Garros. I think she's here to play. She's showed an improved performance under Matt Daly. She's also working with Jean-Christophe Farrell, a second stint with him. The team around her seems very solid indeed. And I expect great things from Coco Gauff in the future. She is a very educated, interesting, likeable young woman. And the future's bright, even though the forehand sometimes isn't so much.
That's getting better, though.
It sure is. Yeah, her entire game's getting better. And I don't think she sees that as any kind of burden. I think she's thinking, bring it on. But she's thinking, I'm going to take care of business tomorrow first.
Okay, I'm hearing Gauff loud and clearly across the table here.
Yeah, 3 sets.
Some great matches to look forward to. Gauff and Bencic, Draper and Alcaraz on day 8. Geez, what a campaign it's been for the Americans this week.
Unbelievable.
Especially the youngsters.
Another thing, just going back to, I had an academy in America from 2012 to 2018, and you could see the numbers of people coming to my academy, but my academy was one of 5 in this small area. And then there were others. The Lifetime Fitness was right around the corner, which was where Donald Young and Taylor Townsend were training. And then at the next academy, you got Robbie Ginepri, now looking after Alex Mickelson. He was up in Marietta, coaching a whole host of other players. And this was just in this one part of Georgia, which is one state of 50.
Yeah.
So it's a numbers game. There's just so many people playing tennis. After COVID, it ricocheted up even further. But there's just so many options, and now it's becoming so competitive at national level, regional level, state level, even county level in the USA. So this was inevitable, in my opinion. You could see it coming for the last 10 years. They put an enormous amount of effort. It started with the Taylor Fritz, and then the Tommy Paul, and the Francis Tiafoe, and the Riley Opelka. And now you've got this young group with Lerner Tien, Nishesh Bezavaredi, you've got Alex Mickelson. I mean, just one after another, and I guarantee there's 10 more coming up just behind them.
Well, a sure sign of things to come for the Americans over the next decade or two. If you'd like to hear this episode in full, search for The Tennis wherever you get your podcasts, or click the link below and hit the bell below to subscribe so you never miss an episode of The Tennis right throughout the Australian Open and throughout the rest of the year. We'll see you tomorrow.